going. That is the... Everybody in the world touched the pad and it should be used. So I've got the, let's take a little... Morning crew and welcome to my Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. Now I've been waiting for about 2 weeks to make this, hopefully, oh, cross fingers there, look, hopefully final video in the MR2 saga. Remember on the last video I made the call that the problem was the igniter on the ignition system. The IGT, the trigger signal from the ECU, was working just fine, but unfortunately the feedback signal, the IGF signal from the igniter back to the ECU, which basically gives it a handshake and says, yep, all good mate, you can carry on doing what you're doing, that was basically going wayward and way outside the acceptable parameters of what the ECU would recognize as a good signal from the igniter pack. And I've learned a lot from doing these videos, so probably why I'm talking a bit more confidently now than was on video one, but it's a learning curve for all of us, isn't it? That's what this is all about. Now, I did look around for a new igniter. I gave Toyota in Albany, just north of Auckland, a call and said, hey guys, we've got this old MR2 and I need a new igniter. And they went, no problem at all, sir. It's in Japan, 3 weeks, and it's 740 New Zealand dollars. And I'm like, way, calm down, gentlemen. It's not going to happen. And you know, realistically, why should it? Who on earth would pay that kind of money for a part for such an old car? This is 1992, I think it was. So I jumped on the net and through help from you guys managed to locate an igniter in the US, a second-hand one. Wait for it, $20 US. Correct, 20 bucks for a second-hand igniter. Now sure, I am taking a punt, it might be faulty. This part is a common fail on this particular engine, and in actual fact on the ignition systems in general on Toyota that use igniter packs, the igniter pack does die after a period of time. In this case it's been, geez, what, 25 years? My sum's right? Yeah, 25 years it lasted. That's not bad, but I'm still not paying 740 bucks for a new one. So, in the post, I think it was yesterday, came the new igniter, and it came from a gentleman called Eric Millen. I can't see where he came from, but Eric Millen over in the US. Cheers mate, fingers crossed this is going to work. And it's still sealed. I haven't even been in this, so time to cause some blood probably. Right, so I'm going to open up the package. There we go, look. And, ooh, package in a package. Right, I don't need that anymore. Let's have a look. I hope to God it's the right one, and I also hope it works. What have we got? Okay, don't need that. And, oh, we get a little invoice. What's on here? Customs. Customs stuff. Customs declaration. Used auto parts. Set of it's not a set. Toyota igniter, part number 89621-12050, one of 20 bucks. Can't show you, it's got his address on it. Well, it looks the right size bag, doesn't it? Oh, more paperwork. What have we got here? Oh, it's from COQUI Auto Parts, and they're in Orlando, Florida. So, yeah, excellent. Now, unfortunately, the freight was quite expensive. I did it pretty quick because I know you guys are, really desperate to see what's going on. So I could probably show you the freight. Let's see how I can do this. There we go, look. That should work. Right, put my finger over the phone number. There you go, look. Right, so the part was 20 bucks and the freight was $47.50. Damn. The money I spend on cars is unreal. Okay, to the prize. It's really packed well, I'll give them that. What the hell? two igniters. I only ordered one. I am really confused now, but also very happy because, shit, it means I can, if they both work, I'll chuck one on TradeMe, which is our equivalent of eBay over here, and I'll make some money. Alright, so they have got the 201 on there, look. Now the old one is back in the car because just before I started this video, I thought, well, actually, the car's been stood a couple of weeks. It's actually not under the carport. I had to use the carport for another job. I was doing some work on an ROV and it wouldn't fit in the garage for what I was doing. So I had to drive it under the carport. I thought, hey, what the hell? Let's capture one last time a pair of waveforms from the IGT and IGF as I drive the vehicle under the carport. And here it is. This is what I got. And you're currently in the boot of the MR2, by the way, in case you didn't realise. Okay, so we need both channels, and we're going to go for 10 volts on each, so we don't go over scale. And I think we'll do 1 second per division because I'm going to be taking my time doing this. And let's just take a few more captures. Okay, so we'll just stop that. Okay, right. I'm going to jump in the car, hopefully start the engine, and hopefully it'll keep running for long enough to get it in the carport. Let's see what happens. Well, there we go. Let's see what we got. I don't know. You get one chance at this. Oh, look at that. Fantastic. Okay, so ignition on. So a little squiz. Wonderful. Okay, so blue trace is the trigger from the ECU. That's IGT. And the red trace is IGF. That's the feedback from the igniter to say, hey, we've had a spark, all is good. So you can keep triggering the injectors. Now I've had a 3 or 4 line scope. I would have put the injector feed on there as well, but obviously I can't. So let's have a little scroll across and see where the fail was. It's on the next page, isn't it? So have a little look. Oh, hang on, get rid of that. There we go. Right, so what happened? Oh, wow, look at this. Okay, so the trigger continues blue from the ECU, but you can see that this voltage here, the residual voltage on the IGF, that's the feedback signal back to the ECU to confirm all is well, has been climbing, actually massively jumped up. It's been climbing all the way up. That is a fantastic trace. Okay, right, well, let's head back inside. Right, I'm back. That was really interesting, wasn't it? We could see the handshake signal, the signal coming back from the igniter back to the ECU, which is the IGF, the feedback, and that signal, the minimum voltage was climbing and climbing and climbing, and it basically went. You know, we saw it would have got to a point where it stepped outside the acceptable threshold of a known good signal for the ECU, didn't accept it anymore, basically it wouldn't see it anymore, and it then stopped the the injectors and the engine stalled. And once the engine's stalled, no IGT signal. Right, so what have we got? Well, they're very clean, I must admit. Super clean, in fact. So there's the first one, 89621-12050. 89621-12050. So they are identical components as regards the exterior. Here we are, look. Okay. Now, I suppose all we need to do now is find out if they're actually identical as regards operation. Are they both going to work? This has made my video twice as long, because we're going to test both of them. Geez. Right, I'm going to head outside and install one of these, and then what we'll do is we're going to capture the waveforms of hopefully a known good igniter. And if it is good, that engine should keep running, shouldn't it? Right, well, here goes. Right, since we've got two of these, and they both look pretty much the same, I'm going to label this one igniter 1, and I'll put a number 2 on the other one. And then that way, if one of them doesn't work, we don't try and fit the wrong one again. Okay. Now, it was only held in with one screw last time, just to ease removal. And I've already left the fuse box out of the way a bit. I almost didn't bother filming this bit because you guys have seen me change this igniter so many times. Right. Now the clip has broken on there, but nothing a zip tie can't fix. Right, well, okay, igniter number 1, all the way from the US of A. Cool, that's plugged in. I'll put that screw in there. Mr. Screwdriver. It's been such a busy week at work again. Come on, line up, little bastard. There you were, okay, right you off. Right, make sure it's got a good ground, because they do ground through the casing. Okay, let's get the old picoscope fired up and see what happens. So that was the recording I did earlier on, that you've already seen. So we're just using a screen capture software now. I'll click on record, what is it called? Screencast-O-Matic it's called. Okay, so I just want to save that previous waveform that you've already seen. Just start off the screencast before I forget, because I'm an idiot sometimes. Right, file, save as. I've got to remember to save the picoscope waveform and the video file. It's crazy. Right, MR2, video 5, last, hopefully, old igniter, start, cold start, to store. Save that one. Okay, well, we're all set up, so all we need to do now is press play, and it should record a new one for us. Oh, there it goes. You bastard. This is not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, initially, everything was looking good, wasn't it? Behaving itself. Get rid of that. That was ignition on. And we're seeing the igniter giving a handshake signal back. Pretty minimal though. Again, that voltage is starting to climb, isn't it? What is the voltage? So the voltage at the start is about 1.5 volts minimum, and about 3.7 volts on the peak. And you can see straight away on that line there, look how it's starting to climb. Okay, page 2. Get rid of that. Wow! Look at that. So it's behaving itself. This is when the engine's running fine, and then, sorry about the audio, it's starting to rain quite heavily. We've got, it instantly jumps right outside that threshold. It jumps up to a minimum voltage. Jeez. We're at 5.4, which is way higher than the maximum, and then it basically goes off the scale, almost 10 volts. Move that out of the way. Holy shit, that's even worse than the last one. And then we can see here, look, the engine's now stalled. And then I've gone to turn the ignition off. Wow. Stop the video. Okay, let's go and put new igniter number 2 on and see if that's any different. Okay, we're not going to stop for a little bit of piddly rain. Very disappointed, but hey, that's what diagnostics are all about. And luckily, you know, everything was pointing to the igniter. But for 20 bucks, yeah, it's not a parts cannon. I didn't decide right at the start of the first video, did I? Yeah, I tried to do this methodically. Okay, so that's number 1 out, and number 2 is going in. Come on, number 2. Let's hope that number 1 was a faulty one. That's maybe why they sent 2, because they weren't too sure. Put that screw in there now, or we can get to it. Okay. It's time. Okay, we're good to go. Right. So we'll press start. See what happens again. I think she was getting a bit rich. Right, we'll just stop that. Now, I didn't stop the engine, by the way. It stalled out. Okay. So with this, let's just get rid of that so you can see the whole thing. Man, it's all over the place, isn't it? Come on, Erica, what's wrong with it? Wish you were here, mate. Or Ivan, this is your world. So we're seeing here, it's running okay. It's happy with that signal, that IGF, the feedback signal from the igniter at this point. And then you see the base voltage, so the minimum voltage suddenly climb. It's gone from under 2 volts to about 3 volts here. And of course the peak's gone up as well, running at about 5. And that all seems to be pretty hunky-dory. Everything's happy even at that. Giving it a good rev, clearing that engine out. Just say she's a bit flooded from stalling out last time. And then here, it suddenly drops back to where it was at the start of the test. Definitely something not right here. Maybe a supply voltage. So that igniter's jumping around a bit. Maybe we need to have a look at that a bit more. Okay, so again we're back to where we were. Everything's happy-ish. ECU's still recognising the IGF signal. And again, we can see here, look, everything's happy. We've got a bit of a dip, doesn't affect the base, a slight drop there. It's still running. The ECU is still recognising that handshake signal, despite it being all over the place. And that's a bit of a concern, to be perfectly honest. And then, wow, boom, there you go, look at that, massive jump. And basically this is the base here, and that's jumped to almost 10 volts. That is way not right. And now you can see the ECU basically is giving up recognising that signal, and it basically stops with its trigger. It's going to stop the injectors at the same time, and of course, boom, engine stalls out. Oh dear. Diagnostics, I love it. Okay, well, we've tested 3 igniter packs on that car now, and they're all sort of showing the same symptoms. So I think it's pretty fair to say it's not the igniter pack itself, but absolutely confident, seeing what we've seen on this video, that it's the handshake signal back that's going way outside spec, and we've confirmed that. So now we've got to ask ourselves, how on earth could this possibly happen if it's not the igniter itself causing that? Well, don't forget the igniter itself does have a 12 volt feed on the center pin. Here's one I prepared earlier. So that pin, pointy stick, here we go, look, that center pin there is 12 volts in. So I think we need to check that again. I'm sure we've already checked it. I think we need to check it with the scope again. So we could put on the scope that signal, that voltage, which should be constant, and also the IGF signal. And maybe there's a correlation in that input voltage climbing up. Hey, maybe this thing's overcharging. Who knows? It's had a new alternate about 2 years ago, but I didn't think of that. We have checked voltage before, and it didn't seem to be overcharging, so we need to check that. So, next job. Input voltage, center pin, back probe, and the IGF signal, which is a return signal from the igniter back to the ECU. Golly, it's not alternator problem. Right, here we go. Right, I'm just going to pull it out to back probe. Be a bit easier, I think. Get the pin in. So, people, what do you think it is? Can't be the igniter now, can it? There's chances of getting 3 faulty igniters. And don't forget, it didn't run on the RAV4 igniter either, even though it works pretty much the same way. Right, centre pin black with a red tracer is our 12 volt feed. A bit of magic spit, never know, would help. Alright, let's give that a go. Right, we'll stick with number 2. There's going to be a lot of editing on this video, I think. I haven't got all day on this today because I've got to go and do some warrants. Because in New Zealand you've got to put through at least 25 warrants a year, otherwise you lose your licence, and I don't want to lose my licence. Right, there's our little pin down there. If we can get to it. There we go. Right, we're on. Lost our ground there. Right, find a ground on the engine. Perfect. Click record. And this time round, the blue line is going to be battery voltage, so we're going to need to go to 20 volts on that one. In fact, let's do 20 volts on both, because that was getting over voltage as well, wasn't it? So keep everything nice and simple. We can always zoom in later on. Right, we'll get rid of that. Close that. Already saved that. Right, press play. Here we go. Damn, won't even run anymore. I was hoping it would start. Okay. What the hell? What the hell? Okay. So during cranking, of course, voltage gets pulled down, but it's pulling down the trigger voltage too. Not the trigger, sorry, the feedback voltage. Big time. So we're getting battery voltage on the IGF. By the looks of that. Not full battery voltage, but it's definitely following exactly the same line, isn't it? That's me cranking now, look. Why are we getting battery voltage on that? Okay, what did we get before cranking? There. .35, okay. And there's a lot of noise on that wire, isn't there? A hell of a lot of noise. And that's before I even crank. You know, I am so tempted to run a wire again directly from the IGF, the feedback output of the igniter, back to the ECU. I wonder if we've got a wire that's touching, you know, in the loom. No, that's not right. It's not right at all. I'll have a think. My day is going from bad to worse. No, not really. Just a lot longer doing this job than I planned. I was really hoping to plug it in and go and play. It's not happened. So what I've done, I've spent the last hour or so making an interface. Very technical word. I got the old RAV4 igniter. Yes, you're going to hate me. Destroyed it because I wanted the male plug. And I've made basically a component that I can plug in to the loom, and like a junction box, really, a breakout box, and then I can plug in the new igniter. And I've run the IGF, the feedback signal, directly back to the ECU. Now, we have done this in the past, but I wanted to eliminate the wiring in the loom. And the reason for this is it seems that the IGF signal is being pulled up by battery voltage. It's going way, way higher than it should be. And we know it's not the igniter. Pretty confident 3 igniters aren't going to have the same fault. So I'm now looking at the loom, and we saw on the previous waveform that the IGF signal was being pulled right up, and it was going way off the scale, and of course the ECU wasn't recognizing it. So it's all rigged up. The picoscope's now plumbed back in again, and we're going to see 2 waveforms. One is battery voltage again, just like on the last video, and we're also going to see the IGF signal going back to the ECU, you know, via a separate wire, not in the loom. God, let's go and see what happens. Here we go. I really don't think it's going to make much difference, but we will have to find out, won't we? Because it might do, and that's what it's all about now. Where the hell's my scope gone? There we go. Okay, so line 1 is blue, battery voltage, line 2. B is the IGF signal. Geez. Right, here we go. It still doesn't run. Bloody thing. Okay. Wow. Okay. So IGF is the red. Man. Oh, there we go, look. Okay. So we're seeing an IGF pulse, but the pulse is peaking at, let's have a little look, 8.6 volts, and our base is about 6.64, so it's way high. It's a lot higher than it should be, that we've seen in previous videos. Now this is really interesting. I'm just comparing the original waveform that I took this morning. I've only actually saved 2 files because I'm useless, I keep forgetting. But this is the one where I drove the car in, and if we go back to the first screen, sorry, second screen, here we go, and we'll get rid of that. You can see here, this is when I turn on the ignition of the car, and the red line is the IGF signal. This is all we're looking at now, is the IGF, and the voltage is just under 1 volt, 756 millivolts, so about 0.75 of a volt, before we start to crank the engine. And then we crank, and you can see that the voltage, this is a really good acceptable waveform. This is what we want. You can see that the IGF is, you know, no higher than 4 volts, and its base is about 1 volt. And the ECU likes that. It likes it a lot. And then if we, on that one, you can see that the, come on fingers, work. You can see, if you follow that red trace in the background there, look, you can see it slowly climbing up. And then boom, it goes all over the place. And the ECU is still recognizing most of those peaks, and it's still running, providing the IGT signal, the blue signal. And then eventually it goes, nah, no more mate, you're way out of spec, we're turning off. Now, if we open up the recent file on the new igniter, bearing in mind the initial start voltage, this is where I turn on the ignition, and now the initial start voltage before I even start to crank is 8.4 volts, and before it was below 1 volt. There's something causing this igniter to, you know, the IGF signal to be way high, and you can see the whole signal now is way above the voltage of the IGT. I've checked the 12 volt, the battery supply input. That seems fine. I've gone through and disconnected things like the rev counter. There's only 5 wires, for God's sake, so I've disconnected the rev counter, made no difference. Disconnected the coil, grounding wire off the igniter, and of course it no longer gives a handshake. And in actual fact, I'll show you there. So we're on 20, aren't we? So we're all plumbed up. Right, so I've disconnected the ignition coil ground wire that goes to the ECU. That's the black wire with the white trace. It's a lot easier now. I've got my breakout box. And we'll just take another capture. Okay, there we go. Now, obviously the the engine doesn't fire because there's now no spark. But interesting to see how it affects the IGF signal. And you can see here, look, IGF obviously is still high, but it's no longer giving a pulse as a handshake back to the ECU to say, hey, yeah, we've done a spark, we're all good. But again, you can still see the base voltage is still way high. It should be right down here. That's not good. That's not good at all. Okay, let's try disconnecting the 12 volt supply, the middle pin. I'll reconnect the coil. Battery is, thanks, brown. Okay, so I've disconnected the battery 12 volt or the ignition feed to the igniter, and I'm just going to see how that affects the IGF signal. I'm pretty confident that the IGF signal is generated by that incoming voltage supply from the ignition, but we'll give it a go. Right. Okay, let's see what we got. Holy moly. What the hell? So the IGF is still high despite having no 12 volt signal coming, 12 volt supply coming in. Where's it getting that 12 volts from? This is interesting stuff. It's got me baffled. So we're still seeing the pulse from the ECU coming in, but we're getting no handshake pulse back. Wait. Right, I reconnected that 12 volt feed to the igniter. Let's just have another look, see how that varies. Okay, so, dum dum dum, my day is disappearing now. So you can see we've still got the very high base, but we are getting the pulse. So the problem is this residual voltage that's in there, that should be down to about 0.75 volts, and it's sat right up there at the moment. It's at 6 volts, so it's about 5 volts higher than it should be. What the hell is going on? Where is that voltage coming from? It's not coming from the battery supply. We've seen that now because I've had the wire disconnected and it's still there. We can't check that it's coming from the coil because if we disconnect the coil wire, we don't get any signal whatsoever. But the base is still high. Is that right? Okay, coil's disconnected. Let's see what we get with this one. still high. Where's my mouse gone? Yeah. So we're not getting that residual voltage isn't coming from the coil circuit either. And it's not coming from the 12 volt feed. Where the hell is it coming from? This is really weird. Well, the plot thickens. I think we're getting close. We know it's the residual voltage that's on that IGF signal that's causing all the problems. But where's it coming from? I don't know. I really have no idea at this point in time. What I can do, a quick simple thing, is let's just swap the igniter back to igniter 1. And we should get, if that igniter is good, we should get exactly the same problem with this one. If we do, then we can completely rule out the igniter. I'm tempted to be looking at that plug that comes off the loom actually, because that's still in circuit. Maybe I need to isolate that or eliminate that. Okay, let's plug this in first, get some more waveforms and go from there. Jeez. So many wires everywhere now, it's just ridiculous. But that's my little breakout box, by the way. So that's my wire coming out the top. So yeah, I had to mutilate the old RAV4 one, but I don't care anymore, to be perfectly honest. Okay. Just trying to make the whole thing as transparent and as easy as possible to work out. So, right, igniter 2. That's the plug that I took off the loom. There we go. Off the old RAV4. It's coming in very, very handy actually. There we go. Perfect. Right, we'll just go and stick it back down the bottom. Yeah, I can think of nothing better to do on a Saturday than try and work out why an MR2 doesn't run. I wonder if we'll hit double figures of these videos. It's go on forever, this repair, isn't it? Right. Okay, that's grounded. Let's get some more waveforms. Right, so that was the waveform with the ignition coil disconnected. So we're going to do that one first. Right, ignition coil is disconnected off the igniter. That's the grounding wire, the black with the white tracer. Excellent. Okay, so what we saw there was exactly the same. We've got a very high residual voltage. So the minimum is about 5 volts, and we've got no trigger no handshake signal whatsoever coming through. Right, let's get that back again. Okay, coil. Oh, what's going on here? Right, the coil grounding wire is now reconnected, so we'll just see if we can get another waveform for that with this igniter. And it looks identical, doesn't it? I just got a glimpse of it then. Yeah, pretty much the same. Really high residual voltage. All of this whole red line should be down, and when it's not on a peak, it should be pretty much about 0.7, 0.8 volts down here, and it's way over. It's running way over the top, and we can see it here. Look, before I start to crank, this is the residual voltage we're seeing. Where's it coming from? I don't know. I'm missing something. Time actually. I've come to the end of my available time today. I've got to get into Auckland. I've got customers actually waiting for warrants to be done. So here we are. This is as far as I've got. I'll try and edit this video up in the best meaningful possible way I can. Hopefully you can get some more information from this. The fact we've got two potentially known good igniters, they're both acting in the same way and very similar to the original one too. Hopefully it's going to give you some more information to help me to diagnose this problem, because I'm getting a bit out of my depth. I have to admit it. This is starting to get me stumped. I'm enjoying the fact that I'm being challenged, but yeah, video 5, when's it going to end? 6, 7, 8? I don't know. Pretty confident this is not an ECU fault. I'm sure it's not. How can it be? I don't know. But that residual voltage has come from somewhere, and we're seeing that it's not coming from the coil circuit. It's not coming from the ignition 12 volt feed to the igniter. It's coming from somewhere else. So maybe it is the ECU. They hardly ever go wrong. Anyway, maybe I need to find another ECU. Okay, well, have a watch and watch again. I know that these are proving quite popular videos. I'm hoping that either Eric or Ivan will step in and give me a hand. But maybe they're staying well clear for a reason. Yeah. Okay, crew. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then why not click on the subscribe button, and you can then tick the box to turn on notifications. Sorry, click the gear icon. Do that again, actually. So if you enjoyed the video, why not click on subscribe? You can then click on the gear icon and tick the box and turn on notifications. And our friends down at YouTube will send you an email as and when I upload any new videos. You'll also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, and Twitter. Feel free to communicate through any of those portals, but first of all, if you don't mind, through the comments section on YouTube, because hey, that's where the videos are. Alright chaps, well, I'm going to drown my sorrows. 2 hours of work in the city, and then it's time for pub, I reckon. Oh, and I have a surprise for you tomorrow, as always. Alright crew, cheers, over and out.